What's up, guys, and welcome in to an Alabama recap edition of the Rally Time podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Babin Jr. Christian is back in the producer's chair, as always, with an impression of me. Got me down pat. In case you saw the watch party from last weekend, Christian shared his own impression of the intro. How was that this week, Christian?
I think I hit it on the head, wouldn't you say? I think
Yeah.
Well, welcome, guys, into Rally Time. I think I did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I think I recorded
It
with
was
you
hilarious.
enough times to have it down pat. So.
It was hilarious. But, Christian, we're coming off a really good series win for LSU as they won 2 out of 3, winning the first 2 games on Thursday and Friday against Alabama before they did drop the final game of the series on Saturday. But it was a good win against a team who was ranked number 15 in the country. So, yeah, I mean, that's what this show is going to be about, breaking those 3 games down today. A few opening thoughts I have is just kind of big takeaways before we dive into each game. Separately is, again, it was a great series win, especially bouncing back from a really disappointing weekend before, again, at Auburn. I mean, the Auburn series was very disappointing, but it was really good seeing the Tigers bounce back, get a much-needed series win against Alabama. You know, they tried to change the lineup around a little bit, I noticed. And, you know, after the Auburn series, they tried to change things up a little bit. Mainly, they moved Jared Jones. Now, Jared Jones pretty much all season has been batting in the 2-hole. They moved him down to the 3-hole on Thursday and Friday, and then he batted 4th in the lineup on Saturday. He did have another home run this past weekend, so it was his second home run in SEC play, so that was pretty good. But, you know, Jones is he's still finding it. He's still working on it. Still not great. Chris Stanfield, oddly, had another really great weekend in SEC play. I think he went 4 for 4 in the game on I think it was the game on Friday. Stanfield went 4 for 4 in the second game. I mean, Stanfield's he's been your best hitter in SEC play, and I didn't think coming into SEC play that you would be saying that, Christian. I don't think anybody had that on the cards for the LSU team, but good on them. You know, they changed the lineup up a little bit. You know, Curiel was the leadoff guy in the first 2 games, but oddly, Daniel Dickinson replaced Curiel at the leadoff spot. Dickinson led off game 3 Saturday, and Curiel moved down to the 2-hole. So still trying to tinker with some things, especially after the Auburn series where the offense really struggled. Offense was much better this weekend, especially on Thursday when they put up 11 runs, and then they were decent. You know, still not perfect by any means, but it was much better. It couldn't get much worse than it was against Auburn, right? That was good to see. And then the last point I want to make before we dive into game 1 and all the games solo individually is you really needed this, especially going into the next 3 weeks, because it is a gauntlet in the SEC the next 3 weeks. This 3-week stretch for LSU coming up is incredibly difficult, and it's going to be incredibly challenging. You play starting this weekend at home against number 5 Tennessee. Then you play at a Texas A&M team who started the season slowly, but they've won, I think 7 out of their last 9 SEC games. They won 2 series. They won a series at Tennessee 2 out of 3, and they won a series at Arkansas 2 out of 3, and they swept South Carolina. Texas A&M has been on fire lately. And then the week after that, you play home against Arkansas, who's number 10, who's a top 10 team in the country as well. So these next 3 weeks are the most challenging weeks that LSU has had on their schedule, you know, this season, period. And you needed this heading into 3 weeks where I'd be willing to say you might drop a series. Like, at least one of these next 3 series, it's going to be challenging to win all 3 series. I don't really know how it's going to work out. I hope I'm wrong and they show up and show out these next 3 weeks and prove that they're one of the best teams in the country, which I believe they are, talent-wise. These next 3 weeks are brute, and you really needed to see this if you're an LSU fan. They really needed to get the series win against Alabama, and they did that. So let's get into Game 1. Again, it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, and in Game 1 on Thursday night, LSU won the game 11-6. It was Cade Anderson on the mound again against Tyler Fay was the starter for Alabama in this game, and it's weird. Most weekends it's been Zane Adams, Riley Quick, and then the third guy, whoever that third guy is in the rotation to start. But I think with the Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, they didn't want to mess up the rhythm of either Adams or Quick, so they decided to put Tyler Fay up against Cade Anderson. You know, the first 5.5 innings of this game felt eerily, similar to the Auburn series. I mean, I was worried, and I'm not a person who, especially with baseball, because, the SEC's a brute. It's the best conference in college baseball by far, and you're gonna get got some weekends. But I was especially concerned after those first 5.5 innings because it was very similar to the Auburn series the weekend before. Bama got 2 solo bombs early in the game from both Cade Snell, and LSU transfer Brady Neal got a homer as well. So
saw that one coming from a mile away. If you were to tell me that somebody was going to hit a home run in their first 9 at-bats against LSU, and I saw that Brady Neal was starting, that is the most predictable thing, especially after what's his face, Auburn's ace, Sam Dutton did last week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was so predictable.
Yeah.
What were the betting odds on that? That had to have been like plus 200 Brady Neal homer against LSU. That was so
I don't know, because Neal didn't have like a high average coming in. It wasn't like he was lighting the world on fire coming into the series.
No, but it's just that former LSU Tiger coming back to the box or playing his old team and just lighting the world on fire, apparently, and he homers in his first at-bat in the box. So
yeah, so Snell and Neal both got 2 solo homers off of Cade Anderson in the first 3 innings. LSU's offense did start the scoring. They started the scoring after a good response by LSU. They scored 1 run in the third off of a Chris Stanfield double and a Derek Curiel RBI single. Actually, yeah, they didn't score in the fourth. They only scored 1 in the third. In the first 5 innings, they only scored 1 run, and that came in the third off of the Stanfield double and Curiel RBI single. That was all they were able to put on the board through 5 innings. And again, it was very similar to the weekend before against Auburn. LSU left 6 runners on base in the first 5 innings, and they only scored 1 run through the first 5 innings. So look, I was concerned. I was concerned, especially with the offense in the first 5 innings of this game. Alabama hit back-to-back home runs in the 6th off of Cade Anderson. Started with Cade Snell, hit a 2-run homer. It was Cade Snell's 2nd homer of the game off of Anderson. And then Richie Bonamolo came up and hit a solo bomb off of Anderson. And at that point, Alabama took the 5-1 lead, into the bottom of the 6th inning, and you were really concerned. As an LSU fan, you were really concerned. 5-1 going into the bottom of the 6th. Your offense is struggling. Cade Anderson has allowed 4 home runs. 4 home runs were hit off of Cade Anderson in this game. You were worried. The stadium, I was at the game. Christian, you said you were at the game as well. The stadium, to me, after, especially after the top of that 6th inning, felt flat. Like it felt dead. There was not a lot of energy, especially when off of those back-to-back homers from Bama. It's 5-1 going into the bottom of the 6th. And, it was worrisome for sure. Yeah, I mean, as far as Cade Anderson, Cade Anderson was solid at times in the game. He wasn't bad all around, but unfortunately he got bit by the long ball 4 times, and that's been the thing for Anderson. He's obviously the ace, the best pitcher on this LSU staff. We saw that a few weeks ago when he had that amazing complete game shutout against Oklahoma. But when Anderson has, struggled this season at times, it's come via the long ball. And I don't know if that's because he leaves it across the middle part of the plate a little too much on a couple of pitches, and Alabama was just able to capitalize on that. Anderson pitched 5 2/3 innings. He gave up 5 earned runs on 6 hits and 10 strikeouts. So, yeah, I mean, it was what? It was 5-6-1 going into the bottom of the 6th. And then Jay Johnson changed the lineup a little bit in the bottom of the 6th. And it worked. It absolutely worked to perfection as Ashton Larson hit a 3-run bomb in the 6th, his second of the year, to make it a 1-run game. I mean, Ashton Larson, a guy you're talking about coming into this weekend who I think only had 28 at-bats all season. He hasn't really played at all in SEC play not because he's a bad player. I mean, he was the thing about this LSU team, and it's so weird because they have one of the best offensive lineups in the country on paper. I mean, 1 through 9, they're phenomenal as far as talent-wise. And that's why it was so shocking to see what happened in the Auburn series where they just could not get a hit to say for the life of them. They couldn't get a hit in clutch situations. But Ashton Larson comes in a 5-1 game, gets a 3-run bomb to make it 5-4, and the juice is back in the stadium. People are feeling it again. They're back in the game. It's a 1-run game heading into the 7th. I mean, good on Ashton Larson for a guy who's, again, has not got a lot of playing time this season, but he was called upon in the 6th inning, and he was ready. He was ready to deliver a big blow into that Alabama lead. So it was 5-4 going into the 7th, and then Stephen Milam gave LSU the lead with a 3-run shot of his own in the 7th. It was Milam's 8th home run of the season. I mean, Milam's just a beast, a monster mash it into the student section, basically, or to the, I think it was like near the first base foul pole, actually.
I think it was in the, is that the diamond deck out there? Which one is that?
Yeah, the diamond deck.
The right field stands.
Yeah, the right field stands kind of close to the first base foul pole.
Batting center, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Milam, 3-run homer, his 8th of the season, gave LSU the 7-5 lead. Ethan Fry also added another solo home, or I believe it was a 2-run bomb, actually, by Fry. Fry had a homer in the 8th inning as well. It was his 7th bomb of the year. So, not a great first 5 innings for this LSU offense, but innings 6 through 8 were just on point. I mean, especially those 3 homers by Larson, Milam, and Fry. You scored 10 runs in the final 3 innings at the plate. I mean, it was electric, and the crowd was electric. I don't know if the crowd seemed like they got a little to the Alabama pitchers late in the game, struggled with command, struggled with all of that late in the game, did the Alabama pitchers. Case and Evans did come in the game during the 7th inning. Evans was great again. He was really good. He pitched the final, or not the final, but he did come in the 7th and pitch 2 1/3 scoreless innings, giving up 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 wild pitch, along with 2 strikeouts before Zach Cowan came in the game with 2 outs in the 9th and closed the game out by forcing a flyout to end the game and give LSU the win in Game 1 by a final score of 11-6. So again, Cowan and Evans continuing their dominance, continuing to show that they're 2 of the best relief pitchers in the country. And it was just coming out of that game, Christian, it was just so big because it felt like for a week you had this big, if you're LSU, you had this big cloud hanging over your head because you got swept at Auburn in a game where you're in a whole series in 3 games where your offense was not itself. And then those first 5 innings, your offense wasn't itself again. And then Cade Anderson gives up back-to-back home runs. It's 5-1 going into the bottom of the 6th, and you feel like, oh no, LSU's gonna drop their 4th straight SEC game, and it felt bleak. It going into the bottom of that 6th inning on Thursday night, it felt bleak. But it was a huge comeback win to get some momentum for the Tigers. It was one that LSU really needed, and they got it. The bats, when it mattered most, again, they scored 10 runs in the final 3 innings of that game on Thursday night in Game 1 against Alabama, and it was just huge. It was a huge comeback win. In Game 2 on Friday night, LSU won that game 4-3 as well. Anthony Ianson was on the mound versus Riley Quick actually started on the mound in Game 2. Now, the Friday guy has usually been Zane Adams all season for Alabama, but they moved it around. Zane Adams actually started Game 3, the Saturday game. Riley Quick started Game 2. Again, stats-wise, numbers-wise, just, seeing what the two have done, comparing Riley Quick and Zane Adams together. Riley Quick has been the better pitcher for the most part of the season, so they finally switched it around and gave Quick Game 2 on Friday and moved Adams back to Game 3 on Saturday. Anthony Ianson was great. Anthony Ianson was awesome. Now he did struggle a little bit early in the first inning with command, especially early. He struggled to command his fastball. It was almost like he commanded his breaking ball better than his fastball in the game. Ianson did give up 1 run in the first, but he did fight out. He fought hard all game, especially in the first. He got a huge strikeout in the first with the bases loaded to end the first. So he got a strikeout with the bases loaded to end the first, and he only gave up 1 run where, struggling with command early, it looked like it could have been a big first inning for the Alabama offense. But Ianson was able to fight and get out of that inning, and he did the same thing in the 4th inning, getting another huge strikeout to end the 4th when Bama had the bases loaded as well. But Ianson did not allow a single run in the 4th inning, even though Bama had the bases loaded. So in the first and the 4th, it was huge, especially in those situations where we kind of saw it last week, Christian, the Auburn series, as far as when LSU at Auburn had runners in scoring position, had the bases loaded or something like that, they could never get that clutch hit that they needed to take the lead or get the momentum in the game, right? It was kind of the reverse as far as for Alabama, at least in Game 2 against Anthony Ianson, when Anthony Ianson, when it came down to it, was able to get the out. He was able to get the out when you needed it. It was really big, really nice and solid game for Anthony Ianson. The LSU offense did score 2 runs in the 3rd off of a Daniel Dickinson RBI single and a Jared Jones RBI double. So Jones did have an RBI double. Again, he hasn't been so bad. I mean, he had an RBI double in this game, and I believe in the game on Saturday, Game 3, even though LSU did lose that game, he had his 2nd homer in SEC play in that game.
Definitely a better weekend for Jared Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it was a better weekend by far. You still want to see improvement. You still want to see him get better, but he's trying, and it's a better weekend, and it's improvement. Yeah, it's something you really wanted to see, because this team, the way this team goes far in the postseason is it goes far through a number of guys need to step up, but especially Jared Jones. I mean, he's the guy you're going to need in postseason play to be able to get the big hit when you need it. And he had a better weekend. It wasn't perfect, but it was a better weekend against Alabama. LSU then scored 2 more runs in the 4th as well off of a Derek Curiel 2 RBI single from Derek Curiel, who again continues to have standout, phenomenal freshman season. LSU, though, after scoring 2 in the 3rd and 2 in the 4th, did not score another run in the game after the 4th inning, as the combination of relief pitchers for Alabama, Braylon Myers and Colson Buchanan out of the pen, did a good job of slowing the Tigers' offense down after the 4th. Ianson was absolutely fantastic. He pitched 6 innings, only gave up 1 earned run on 4 hits, 5 walks, and 12 strikeouts. I mean, it was a great, great night for Anthony Ianson, who really fought all game. He found a way to get out of some really tough situations, especially with the bases loaded in the 1st and the 4th. I mean, just dynamite performance Friday night from Anthony Ianson. I mean, his breaking ball is filthy. His breaking ball is nasty. It's his best pitch. And, the guy fought. I mean, he threw 115 pitches, which is a season high for him, definitely. And, Ianson was just great. He was so good, and it's something that really helped LSU to close out the series by winning the first 2 games, and Ianson was a big part of that. I mean, he was the star. He was the star of Game 2 on Friday night for sure. After Ianson, Zach Cowan closed the door by pitching the final 3 innings. Now, Cowan did give up 2 earned runs on 4 hits, 1 wild pitch, and 4 strikeouts. But look, I mean, I'm not concerned at all about Zach Cowan. He gave up 2 runs in the final 3 innings, but I'm not at all concerned about him. He's one of the best relief pitchers in the country, and he's shown that, and he's having an outstanding season from Zach Cowan and Kason Evans, and an outstanding night from both Anthony Ianson and Zach Cowan on the mound, holding Alabama to only 3 runs as LSU got the 4-3 win to notch the series. Derek Curiel had 2 hits and 2 RBIs in this game. Daniel Dickinson had 3 hits and an RBI. And the big thing at the plate was in this game on Friday night, Game 2, Chris Stanfield went 4 for 4 with a double. I mean, Chris Stanfield continues to be the best hitter statistically in SEC play for LSU. And it's shocking, it's surprising in a way, Christian. It's great to see him step up. It's kind of like, I like to think about what Michael Braswell did last season. Right. And what Michael Braswell has kind of done this season as well. Is doing this season.
It goes unnoticed, but Michael Braswell's having another good year.
Yeah, I mean, Braswell this season and last season, I wouldn't say struggled completely in non-conference play, but wasn't great, right? But once conference play started, the experience kicked in and was able to figure out and be solid and consistent against SEC pitching, and I think it's the same formula for Chris Stanfield. I'm just really impressed by what he's done through 6 weeks and 18 games in conference play. Yeah. Highly impressed by Chris Stanfield for sure.
Absolutely. I think whenever you get a transfer like Chris Stanfield, I think you saw it last year with Braswell, or maybe there's some other players I'm forgetting, but when you can get quality SEC experience in your lineup, maybe they don't perform in the non-conference. Maybe they start slow, but usually the experience shows itself. And with Chris Stanfield, it really has come along as he's the best hitter for LSU in SEC play, which is, I mean, like you said, it's pretty surprising. Braswell too. Braswell, I think, is top 5 in the lineup in SEC batting average. Maybe top 5, top 4.
He was number 2 last week.
I mean, on the weekends, he's fantastic. So
yeah, absolutely.
It all balances out.
Yeah. Now, Game 3, going to Game 3 Saturday night, Alabama did win 7-4. Zane Adams was on the mound for Alabama and was pretty good. Connor Ware actually got the start over Chase Shores in this game. LSU's trying to change it up, and they changed it up a little bit on Saturday in Game 3 as Ware made his first SEC start of the year. He was solid. He pitched the first 2 innings. He did give up 1 earned run in the first 2 innings on 3 hits, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. But then Chase Shores did come in eventually in the 3rd inning and really struggled out of the bullpen. Richie Bonamolo got a 3-run blast off of Shores in the 3rd to get the scoring started for Alabama. They tried to change it up, They tried to give Ware the start, let Shores come in out of the bullpen, see if that helps Ware, see if that also helps Shores as well. Chase Shores, we've talked about his stuff. We've talked about, fastball getting up to 97, 98. He has the stuff. Still, when he struggles sometimes, it's not locating the ball well or struggling to find rhythm with an off-speed pitch to go along with that fastball or putting that fastball in the wrong spot. And Chase Shores just honestly really struggled against Alabama on Saturday. And it started with that 3-run bomb from Richie Bonamolo in the 3rd. Now, Jared Jones did attempt to respond in the bottom of the 3rd with a solo home run of his own. Again, it was Jared Jones' 2nd homer in SEC play and 13th homer of the season. Alabama did score again in the 4th with an RBI single from Bryce Fowler. And then in the 5th, a throwing error by Chase Shores allowed a single. Alabama hit a single, but on a throwing error by Chase Shores, it allowed the runner from first to get all the way to 3rd on the single. That was followed by a Brady Neal RBI single that drove the runner in to extend the Alabama lead. LSU did attempt to come back in the game with a 2-run bomb from Jake Brown in the 6th, and then an RBI triple from Jake Brown in the 9th. So Jake Brown had a really good game as well on Saturday, but in the end, unfortunately, it was not enough, as far as relief pitchers. It was kind of, once Shea Shores was taken out of the game, it was kind of, all but wraps, as LSU couldn't find their way to get back into it after starting down what I think at one point they were down 6-1. And then, I will say Cooper Williams did pitch an inning of relief late on Saturday in Game 3. And when you look at Cooper Williams' numbers, that's really shocking, is he still has a 0.00 ERA in 11 innings this season. So he still has not given up a run in 11 innings, has Cooper Williams. And, as we close, it's unfortunate that LSU lost Game 3, but they still won the series. It was still a good weekend. Anytime you win an SEC series, you're going to be happy about that. A few points I kind of want to close on as we get near the end of the show is, with Gavin Guidry being out for the season now, Gavin Guidry's not coming back. That's just not going to happen. So besides Kason Evans and Zach Cowan, you're going to need 2 or 3 more guys out of that bullpen, especially once playoff and postseason baseball starts. Can Connor Ware be that guy? Can Cooper Williams be that guy? Can Jaden Newt be that guy? That'll be interesting to see. I think another good point that I kind of wanted to focus on is, as far as changing the lineup around a little bit, which, Jay Johnson tried to do a little bit, moving Jones down to 3-hole and 4-hole and moving Dickinson to lead off in Game 3 on Saturday. I was talking to my dad on Saturday about potentially moving Chris Stanfield to the leadoff position because he has the speed, he has the skill. Think about maybe you put Stanfield, Curiel, Jones, Dickinson. Maybe that's your 1 through 4. Put Stanfield at the top of the lineup because he's the fastest guy on the team and he has the most speed on the team. He's the speediest guy on the team. So he puts a lot of pressure on you if you put him at the top of the order. Now, my only concern, and I'm not saying they're going to do this. Jay Johnson hasn't hinted at it or anything like that. But, the only concern with that is I would be scared with how good Stanfield's been doing in SEC play that you move him to the leadoff position out of batting ninth in the lineup. Does that mess his rhythm up at the plate a little bit, going all the way from number 9 to leadoff, I think it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks, 3 big series in a row, starting with Tennessee this weekend. The defending national champions come into play at your house in a 3-game series. And it's going to be a test. I'd be interested to see what lineup Jay Johnson comes out with in Game 1 Friday night against Tennessee because it's the biggest series of the season so far for LSU. This 3-week stretch is going to be gauntlet. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And no doubt about it, this 3-week stretch, this schedule is definitely backloaded, and you're going to see that the next 3 weeks. Really be interesting to see what Jay does as far as, does Chase Shores get another start on Sunday against Tennessee? Or does he try to change it up again? Does he go with Connor Ware again? Does he go with another guy? What does he do? Stuff like that. I'll be interested to see. We'll get into a big long Tennessee preview later in the week, but I'll be interested to see kind of what lineup Jay Johnson comes out with in the first game on Friday night against Tennessee, and maybe if he tries to tinker and do a few more things heading into this 3-week stretch against Tennessee, at A&M, and home against Arkansas. But all in all, man, it was a great weekend. It was a really good weekend. Getting a 2 wins out of 3 games against a number 15 team is something you will never complain about. And Yeah, I mean, just good to get back in the win column. LSU is now 12-6 in SEC play, so we talked about it a few weeks ago, Christian. You want to get to that 17-18 win mark to feel pretty confident about hosting a regional, and maybe you want to try to get to 20. Like, that's what you want to try to get to, but teams rarely get to 20 in the SEC. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see in these Final Four weekends, especially in the next 3, the challenges, because it's going to be a challenge for LSU. But yeah, I mean, Christian, are there any other thoughts you wanted to share before we close the show?
Look out for the preview this week, coming out probably Wednesday or Thursday on the Tennessee series. That'll probably be our biggest preview of the year. Probably our most detailed, and we'll probably have the most bragging rights on those games. But last weekend, Justin, what did you predict, and was your prediction right? And then I will get into mine cockily.
So we both picked LSU to win 2 out of 3, but I picked them to win game 1 and game 3, and Christian picked them to win game 1 and game 2. So Christian again has been the prediction guru. Something like that. So good on Christian. Good for him.
This is my second weekend of SEC play, at least, that I've correctly predicted the games they will lose and the games they will win. I said they'd lose the Saturday game and they'd win the first 2. I came off a hard L last week predicting the LSU sweep versus Auburn. I wasn't buying the Auburn baseball hype, and they got swept by Texas this week. So maybe I'm still not buying it, and it was just a bad week for LSU. But overall, second weekend of the year, I've correctly predicted both games, so I'm gonna toot my horn on that.
So you and LSU both had to get a major bounce back.
Right. Completely predicted I guess I half predicted it right, saying that one team would sweep.
Yeah, but
it was
you did say the Tigers were gonna sweep.
Yeah, it was the complete opposite of what I said. So
yeah, but anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in to the show. The schedule for this week, we are filming this on Monday, April 21st. So tomorrow night, Tuesday, April 22nd, LSU plays a home game, their midweek game in the box at 6:30 Tuesday night, Tuesday, April 22nd against Northwestern State. And then huge 3-game weekend series against top 5 ranked Tennessee, the defending national champions. The box is going to be rocking this weekend. It all starts on Friday night. The first game Friday night.
One more thing. Friday's game was the most attended LSU baseball game this year. I'd also imagine that was probably the most attended baseball game in the country this year, unless Duty Noble had a big one. But pretty impressive. Props to the fans, props to the listeners who were out there at the box. Me and you were there, Justin.
That will be broken.
But I expect, that's what I was about to say, I expect this weekend for that to be shattered. Tennessee coming into town. We know the beef we have, or LSU has, with Tennessee and Tony V. So excited for this week. I'm excited to see the numbers they put up. This could be a box shattering record in general. Like, this could be the most attended game in LSU baseball history.
We'll see. But yeah, I'm super excited for this weekend, and it starts with game 1 on Friday night at 6:30. Saturday night's game is at 7, and then they close it out with game 3 on Sunday at 2. So big weekend against Tennessee coming up this weekend, and we'll have the recap for you later this week. So tune into that. We thank you guys. We appreciate you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friend about the show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope you have a good one.